What is going on, everyone? Can you see me? Can you hear me? We're going to do 2 drafts today because Underdog offers a faster one now. So we're probably going to do the quick Underdog draft, which I'm probably actually going to have to join from my phone because they can't figure out where I am on the computer apparently. But we'll probably do that one, and then I'll flip on over and do a sleeper draft with anyone in the lobby that wants to join in to that. So we'll let people join in right now. Let people see the notification. Then I will join this in a minute or two on my phone. Fire away any questions that you guys have in the meantime. But yeah, I don't know why I have to join on my phone because they can't figure out my location when I'm doing it on the computer. So we have that fixed at least. I think this one's cool. This like really fast, 15 seconds on the clock, because people panic. And so as long as you're kind of paying attention, which to be honest, answering the questions here, I'm probably going to have to panic myself at times. But if you're not doing it like this, I would join into a few of these because I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I only did one in the drafts, but I got pretty good value because people are just going to like let things slip a little bit more than usual. So 15 seconds. If you hear me say this now, you can join into it now because I'm going to join in a second. I'm doing the 15-second per pick one, so don't do the 30 or the 8-hour one. And yeah, we'll kind of see how the team works out having to draft this quickly. I will enter into that now, and then I'll pull it up. Pull it up over here. Also hoping that this doesn't take like super long to fill one of these because obviously it's way fewer people are doing those ones. But it would be this one. All right. We hacked the system. So again, if you want to join into this, it's called, I actually don't even know. What is it called? Is it called the Pit Bull? $20 entry, Pit Bull. Click the 15-second one if you want to join in on that. So as we allow this to load, I'll go over any questions. We only got one question right now. Fire away more questions if you guys have them. Now's the time to do that. And again, after this, we'll do redraft. So we'll go over to Sleeper. I'll post a link in the chat. I think we'll do a 10-team one. I know we want to do more people in it, but people have been asking for more 10-team content. So we'll do a 10-team draft on Sleeper. I don't know. You guys can offer suggestions if you want whatever type of format you want on there. I'm not too picky on that. So, okay. You're a Chiron owner. You got offered Corum and T for Devonta Smith. Smash or hold Smith. Okay, so you're getting Smith here. I'm assuming this is Dynasty as well, not redraft. I would say no. I feel like straight up, like value-wise, Devonta Smith is just more valuable than T. Higgins in my eyes, like a decent amount more. Plus, you have Chiron. Do you really want Corum in Dynasty? Like, if Corum works out, well, now your Chiron shares just lost value. So I understand in redraft, you might want to like stack the two of them or like handcuff just to have that security. You don't really want to do that in Dynasty as much because you'll want your pick to work out. If you think that Corum has a ton of value, you should probably be selling the Chiron pick, right? So I would say no. I like Devonta Smith a lot. He's going to have a long-term career. I don't know. I'd rather just hold Smith personally. Appreciate the content. Awesome. 12-team Superflex Dynasty. Okay. You have Jefferson and Addison. You want to move Addison, who is a good wide receiver to target in a trade. I don't know. I'll pull up the Dynasty rankings and I'll see who's like right next to him. One spot left in this draft, by the way. So if anyone wants to get over the Pit Bull, right? I always forget what it's called. The Pit Bull, $20 entry, 15-second clock. So it's going to go through very, very fast. All right. One quarterback Dynasty rankings. Wait, you said Superflex, didn't you? Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to tell you wide receivers that are similar in Dynasty because that's how I would kind of look at it a little bit more if you're trying to flip Addison. So around him, I would prefer Tank Dell, I would prefer George Pickens, and I would prefer Zay Flowers. Those are the 3 wide receivers I have ranked right ahead. So if you want to target those 3 just straight up for Addison, if you have to throw in like a throwaway pick, right? Around 4 of next year, which is worth literally nothing. You got to do that. Fine. Going right behind him in Dynasty, Metcalf, Pittman, JSN, Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice. So if any of those names, maybe you can get one of them plus something, plus, a throwaway pick. We're really just looking pretty closely there. That's what I would be looking at for those ones. Okay. Yours is Dynasty PPR. Yeah, Devonta Smith. I would still prefer Devonta Smith over those other two. Also, we don't want to mix our pick here, but it would just be, whoever's left between McCaffrey and CeeDee Lamb. There's not really much to go over there. And then I'll pull this up so we can have a good view of it. We'll minimize. We'll just make our pick, and then I'll pull it up. Oh. Lamb has been going earlier. Like, he's been going at the 101 more often recently. Okay. Actually, we can set it up just like this. Fine. You guys can see everything. If we do that. Beautiful. All right. You guys can see everything here. Questions. Draft my team this year, Nick? Absolutely not. I will never draft someone's team. Sign up for the site or just watch the videos. You'll be fine. The goal of the site, the goal of the videos is to make you better, not to make a platform to draft your teams for you. Any quick tips for Dynasty startups? Depends on your format. I'll just assume like a generic format. If it is super flex, you're going to want to not be thrown away at the quarterback position, right? Like, I would make sure you're not sitting there like, oh, everyone seems to be reaching. I'm going to wait super late and have like a bunch of young quarterbacks that we don't really know a lot about. That wouldn't be a great strategy. I would want to kind of target like a top 10, target another player in like the top 17, like kind of, just be average at quarterback and then like let value differentiate from there. So if you think there's great value, go more aggressive. If you think there's not great value, still try and get those ranges, but maybe on the back end of those ranges. But the biggest thing for Dynasty, no matter really what the format is, wide receiver. You want to go extremely wide receiver heavy. I guess there's some Dynasty leagues that might only have like 2 wide receiver, 2 flex. That's probably like the minimum that you typically see. But a lot of Dynasty leagues are 3 wide receiver. There might be 2 wide receiver and like literally 3 or 4 flex spots because of how the wide receiver position works in that you're going to have a much longer career. You're going to avoid injuries much more. We can predict how good you're going to be a little bit easier. We're better at predicting good wide receivers, how they're going to be. Because of that, if you just hammer wide receiver more than what's comfortable, you're going to end up having a solid team. This last year, I always bring it as like an anecdote, but this last year when I drafted my Dynasty team, I kind of got to a pick and I was like, okay, I have to take a running back. Like, I don't want to, but I can't go this far not taking a running back. I drafted Dameon Pierce. It was a throwaway pick. Like, it didn't even matter. Like, my team was great. I wish I drafted just another wide receiver at that pick. It's so easy to pick wide receivers that you just want to go wide receiver heavy. And if you're in Superflex, it's wide receiver and quarterback. Throw away running back for a while. I'm okay kind of tanking the position. I tanked it last year. I ended up getting super lucky. I drafted Achane and Kyron late, so I ended up winning the championship. But I was totally fine going into the season being like, it's a throwaway. Next year, maybe I'll improve the position, maybe through trading, but I want to draft a ton of wide receivers and then figure out running back last. Okay, we have 15 seconds. We always do this too. We always like say we're going to pull up the team a little bit quicker, and then we don't, but I think it's a pretty easy one. We're just going to take Evans. McCaffrey, Evans is the start, and we're probably just going to take another wide receiver here. Totally fine doing Henry. Totally fine doing Kyron because I think that's actually a stack there. But I think I'd prefer wide receiver. Like when you look at, so I do a lot of these, I'll pull this back up. I do a lot of these underdog drafts where I do attack running back earlier on. So I posted a draft maybe 2 hours ago. I only drafted 3 running backs because I drafted, I think it was Jahmyr Gibbs and JT at this 12-13 turn. I can talk about that in a second actually too. Then I drafted around like, I don't even know, wherever he goes, like 7-8 kind of range for Aaron Jones. And I didn't draft another one. So I am very pro team that says draft McCaffrey, draft Kyron or Jonathan Taylor after that, and then draft like 1 or 2 more and then load out wide receiver. I just feel like I also do that way too much. A much stronger build over time is take that hero, load out wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, and then end up with like 4 to 5, probably 5 running backs, but like later options. that's like better over time. What I will say about the strategy though, and why I kind of like it at 12-13 is double dipping at like 2 running backs you like, is late season. So when you have Underdog, right, late season obviously matters the most because yes, you need to make the playoffs, but all that matters is the playoff weeks, right? 14, 15, 16, or is it 15, 16, 17? I think it's that. Last 3 weeks of the season. What matters there is what would your projection be in a single week? And what we have actually seen is there's lower advancement rates for teams that go with like running back heavy early on. But if you're just looking at straight up projections for a team in that final week, having a team that has stud running backs actually leads to a much higher projection. So like if you could make the final and you have a team with McCaffrey and Derrick Henry and you made the final because both of them worked out, and you only have like them and 1 or 2 other running backs, and you've got a ton of wide receiver, your team is going to be at the top of the projections because we know on a week-to-week basis, running backs were much more confident in their projection. Season long, we're much more confident in wide receiver projections. So that's why you see a lot of teams, plus it's 3 wide receiver, you want a ton of wide receivers that are good. But it's why you see a lot of teams attacking wide receiver early on, because it does tend to a better build over time, over the long run, on average. But if we're trying to like hit on like a 95th percentile ceiling, sometimes going running back early and then loading out after makes sense. Another reason I like doing it at 12-13 is just to be different. It stinks. Like the late first round here, when you miss out, because basically there's like 11 locked in players by ADP. Pretty much this top, I would say top 6 typically goes. Then you have like Bijan and Breece kind of there. Then you have the trio of Puka, Garrett Wilson, and AJ Brown. And basically everyone always drafts those 11. And so when you're at 12, you're getting the same player basically as 12 through like 20. So do something different. A lot of other teams are going running back, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver. Oh, we're almost up. No one's going double running back. And so if that sort of build works out, you kind of gain an edge over the field. So that's why I kind of like double dipping there. I think I want to go Andrews at this spot. Team that took Lamar is going to be upset with me. I don't want to go with any of these running backs. They're not good values. Wide receiver, I'm fine with McLaurin. I would want to go with Andrews at this spot. McLaurin is fine if I knew that Ayuk was not going to go on the 49ers. We kind of don't know that, and it's just like a little bit concerning to me because if we did that, the team's projection would go up, but the individual projection for McLaurin would go down. It's still unlikely to happen, and honestly, I'll probably take him at this pick if he's still there. If not, no, well, he's there. But if not, I would maybe go with like Keenan Allen. I feel like Keenan Allen would be a strong pick. But yeah, I don't want to go with Jacobs here. I don't want to go with another tight end. We could, like, you could theoretically do the, Trey McBride plus Mark Andrews build. But again, we're trying to build out like a semi-optimal team here because I have drafted so many teams that, go running back heavy early on. Let's go with the hero. McCaffrey. We've got Evans, DJ Moore, McLaurin, Andrews. I like to start. But we are going to need to try and figure out a stack here. We do have McLaurin, though, so maybe we can go with Jaden Daniels in a bit. All right, back to questions. We've got a long time before wraps around to our next pick. Is this Best Ball Mania? No, this one is whatever that Pitbull one was only 15 seconds on the clock. I want to try and rip through this one, and then we'll do the redraft draft after that with all you guys. New kickoff rules in place for leagues with 6-point kick return touchdowns, which I think is everyone. I think all leagues. That's like a miscellaneous touchdown. I'm pretty sure every league has that. Would that affect how you draft? No. I mean, because we also just don't know. Like, are we going to see people like Tyreek Hill? Like, are the Tyreek Hills of the world going to go out there and do kick returns now? Or is it still going to be something teams focus on more, but they focus on more for their, like, third, fourth, fifth wide receiver spot, and they really want someone like that? I don't know. Like, I think I posted in the Discord a few players that definitely gain value because of the rules, but it would really only be in leagues that are more like kick return points in terms of like yardage. Again, every single league that I'm aware of, does already have that. It's a miscellaneous touchdown. You get the 6 points for it. Could it impact defense? That would be more what I would be considering, is if we get news. Let's say we get news that like Tyreek Hill will be doing that all year. I mean, to me, that adds value to the Miami defense, because Miami defense also gets those points for the kick return touchdowns. And so maybe that starts to play into it. But unless you have a really strong take, we still don't even know for sure who's going to have that role, if it's going to bump up and have wide receiver ones really want to take on that role, or if we're still going to see secondary, tertiary receivers in that role. So until we kind of know that, I wouldn't change anything personally. Again, unless you have return yardage, then I'd research a lot more. But go into Discord. It's free. You guys can go to the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com, under the draft content tab. Go into Discord, again, completely free. At nzylak is my username. If you type that in the search bar, you can see all my responses. You'll find the one where I listed off a bunch of players that would gain value. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember all of them. But again, they weren't the stud players until we know that the stud players are actually going to be doing this. We don't know yet. Okay. We'll be up here at 6'11", pick 71. Again, have like a hero RB build going on at quarterback. If I had drafted McBride, I'd go quarterback, but I'm not going to do that. Would have liked White or Mixon there. Not going to get either one of them. Wouldn't hate David Montgomery at this pick. Probably makes more sense. I was going to say to go Lad. Lad gets taken. Don't mind Deontay. I think I actually prefer Deontay. I don't hate this. No. Oh. All right. We got Kittle. I was one. Where did they didn't star Deontay for me? I was going to take Deontay and then do Kittle. I thought there was a better chance, but all right. We got both the players that we wanted. So didn't check the bye week. We're basically going for a 49ers stack here, and we'll be fine waiting. All right. I like this. We're going to go with double. I don't want to say elite tight end. I mean, we picked it at 71, but kind of double elite tight end, Andrews and Kittle. We're hoping that, in the first week of the fantasy playoffs, Kittle has 0 points and Mark Andrews goes off. Kittle's advancement rate is super low. Reverse happens in the next round. Kittle goes off. Andrews, actually, what would be optimal is double Andrews go off. Andrews does absolutely nothing in the championship. Kittle does nothing in the first 2 weeks and then explodes in the championship. An outcome like that can be something that wins it for you, because these are players that can single-handedly, there is a world where you can't win unless you had Andrews or Kittle. Not something you say about a lot of players. You kind of want to target players like that, Mike Evans, Christian McCaffrey. Those are players that had that ceiling. We're done at tight end now. We're not going to take any more of those. And we are going to have to target Purdy. I want to say in the next round is where we have to be going towards him. 11 pick PPR Superflex, you taking Gibbs or Puka? Honestly, I would do mocks. They're so close to each other that it comes down to how do you like your team if you start off running back or wide receiver. I can pull up the projections and tell you exactly who I have in that exact format. But to me, they're so close that you got to do the mocks and be like, oh, I hate my team. If I don't take running back, take Gibbs. If you can't stand, your team when you don't do wide receiver early, take Puka. I have Puka higher in that format. Based on the way Buffalo used James Cook last season, what are the odds Ray Davis comes for the goal line work? To be honest, there's no goal line work. I mean, Josh Allen just takes it when they get close to the goal line. It's somewhat of a concern, but it's more that James Cook didn't have a large goal line role last season. So if he doesn't again this year, okay, it's the same. If he does, he goes way up in value. And when we look at the split between the coordinator changes last season, really, really favored James Cook, how they shifted in the second half of the season, going way more run heavy. He was awesome. So I wouldn't worry about that. If you're asking in terms of does Ray Davis have value? I still think Ray Davis only has value in terms of an injury. I don't think there's really a world where he's good enough to just kind of overtake James Cook. There's not really enough value there. Again, I think we have to take Purdy at probably the next pick. We can wait during this wraparound here. I think we have to take him after that. Definitely don't hate James Conner, though. If we go James Conner, then Purdy, that would be solid. If we went wide receiver, yeah, it'd be Lockett. I don't know if we need to do that, and we're not going to go with tight end. I feel like James Conner is a good pick here, though. Latest reports are he's going to be the guy, and it's more that Trey Benson is like, 2025, because, Conner's getting up there in age. But they view Conner as the lead back. He has been extraordinarily fantasy relevant at times when he can stay healthy. Getting him at pick 95, second running back, I think that's a good value. And again, ADP-wise, we're kind of getting hit pretty hard here, taking Purdy, but 119 is our next one. Yeah, I just don't feel confident enough in waiting. If we wanted to take Shaheed, we could. I just feel like, why risk it? We already have the stack set up. The difference in the wide receiver I would have taken here and the one I will end up taking in the next round is a couple points in the projection. So if you want to go Shaheed there, risk it with Purdy. I think there's way more value in just taking Purdy, lock up the stack, and then we'll go get a wide receiver that has basically the same value as what we had. But a risky play there would have been to take Shaheed and see what's left after that. I wanted to lock it up, though, because I didn't really have any other. I mean, I guess we could go with like Baker, because we have Evans, and obviously there's significant weekly upside with Evans there. We go Baker. I don't hate going Bryce Young. I think the upside of the Panthers offense is significantly higher than people think this season. They're not going to be the Chiefs, right? They're not going to be a lot of other teams. They're probably not going to be above average, but I think they could be decent. And so I don't hate kind of like backdooring some Panthers stacks. And when you start with Deontay, it's easy to kind of grab, one more of their wide receivers, grab Bryce Young late. You can a lot of times grab Bryce Young in like the final round, but you can just take him in round 17 as well. I don't hate that as an option. So we have two outs. We have Baker as an out, and we have Deontay, the stack with Bryce Young there. Oh, I'll pull this up. Apologies. And I will begin to get rid of round 1 for everyone. Full PPR, draft, 10-man draft. Okay. You're drafting 10th. You have the turn. Unless you get one of the top 5 wide receivers ending with Amon-Ra, you almost always go with Jameer Saquon. Depth of wide receiver is good this year. Yeah, and I'll say I was talking about this as well, doing that at the 12-13 turn in best ball. In redraft, running backs do get bumped up. And so, yeah, if you wanted to go Jahmyr Gibbs Saquon, not touch running back until round, 8, 9, and you want to just load out wide receivers because you feel good about that range, 100% do it. 100% do it. I agree. There's good value. Don't get overconfident with wide receiver value, especially on something like Underdog, because it does go away. There are a lot of wide receivers we like later on, but that we know don't have the ceiling as some of the early guys. So don't think that you're getting a bunch of like wide receiver 2s in like round 13, 14. Like you're not. You're still getting lesser receivers. But I will agree in redraft, rounds like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are loaded with very strong wide receivers. So totally fine doing that this year. I know you said every draft position can result in a solid team this season, but are you referring to the value you're getting early, mid, or late round pick for most? I'll answer that in a second. We want to not miss our pick here. Okay. I'd want Cooks, and then there's a decent drop-off at wide receivers. So I definitely would like Cooks with this pick. That stinks. All right. I don't hate Singletary. We don't have a stack at wide receiver. Yeah, I think Singletary's the play. Get that third running back. We should go wide receiver at the next pick. Even in terms of ADP, Mike Williams is finally falling. I don't think I've drafted a single share of Mike Williams. And I'm not sure I'm going to start here. I think we'll just draft Pearsall and continue. But I was 30 spots behind ADP all summer, and apparently I'm only 7 spots behind now. So maybe I need to do another drop. But yeah, we'll take Pearsall. We're reaching a little bit for this 49ers stack, but I had Pearsall projected as the next best player. There's no reason to risk it. Take Mike Williams, who I don't think is as good of a pick, and hopes that Pearsall's there at the next pick. He probably wasn't going to be. So just secure the stack. All right, pull that up. Okay, to answer that question, I was kind of referring, when I say you can build a really good team from any spot, I was referring to the whole draft, of course, just being like, you know, there's different benefits early, middle, late, especially in terms of the mid rounds. Late rounds doesn't matter that much because there's a lot more variance. Like round like 12 on, it doesn't really matter if you were an early, late, or mid round pick. But in the middle rounds, some of the benefit of going early does get lost in some of the players in the middle rounds because like the late round picks just get like at their turns are a little bit better, especially at running back if you kind of missed out on that early on. I will say on Underdog, late is kind of tough. You are getting a drop off here. I do kind of think the like mid range is maybe where you want to be, but early always grades out better. And historically, if you do look, I want to do a bigger study next season, but if you do look at what I've seen so far, early teams do win at a little bit of a higher rate just because those early picks just produce more like true league winners. We've typically seen the back half of the second round kind of eke its way into round 3, and you kind of get 3 really good picks, whereas people at the late first got the late first picks and didn't get that third good player. So historically, it does get worse as you move along. I think this season is a little bit unique in that the tail end of round 2 seems to die off a little bit quicker than it has in recent years in terms of our certainty. So it's a little bit less valuable having that first round pick. Kind of what I was referring to, just being like late first. You are kind of getting double dips at 2 really strong players. And then the late third round hasn't really been that much different than the early third round this season, is where it was in previous years. But if you had to make me pick a spot, I still want earlier middle as opposed to a late first round pick. But it's more even than it has been in recent seasons, in my opinion. You're drafting 3 teams on Underdog, first time ever. You feel like you're drafting bad. I know you say what's optimal. I go off the rankings you have on Underdog app. I don't know, maybe panicking. Well, I probably need more information than that, and then I'll give a take on some optimal drafting for Underdog after this pick. Okay, Mooney, not bad. We need wide receivers. He probably makes the most sense for us. Lloyd wouldn't be bad either. I don't know that we need running back, though. I think Mooney's just like the pick here. Yeah, we'll take Mooney. We could consider Lloyd with this next one. I don't hate taking Quentin Johnston here and hoping he kind of figures himself out. Okay, good. He didn't make me make that pick. Dream Burton's not bad. And Lloyd got taken. Yeah, it would be Burton or it'd be Chandler. I just think there's a little bit more value in us going wide receiver here. So review the team first, and then I'll go over that take. We need another quarterback. But as we said, we're kind of waiting on Baker. He goes at 169. We can wait maybe for that as the next round. Or we can kind of get bailed out with Bryce Young, 192. We can take him in 17. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to end up happening. We don't have any other potential stacking partners besides, theoretically Singletary with Chino, but that's really not one that you want to be doing. I think the build is strong. We're going to be weak at quarterback. We've got the Hero RB build, and I do like this team or this like running back core. I do believe James Conner is like a good value right now. Singletary I think is a good value, and we got him at ADP discounts. McCaffrey, obviously, you're going to want on your team. And I think we've done good at wide receiver, basically just not falling behind because we took a running back in round 1. We took 2 tight ends, Andrews and Kittle. We have probably the best tight end core in this league. I think we've done well at wide receiver, targeting some ceiling, but also targeting players that we know are going to have solid seasons. To answer or to kind of talk about this person, their question here of if they're drafting a good team or not. Typically on Underdog, the way I like to build is you're going to want wide receivers. You know it's a 3 wide receiver format. You know that flex spot is probably going to be a wide receiver, probably hopefully going to be a wide receiver a week. If it's not a wide receiver, it's like, okay, that's fine if you want to go with a very heavy running back build. But if you just draft with the mindset of I need 4 wide receivers every week, it just helps, right? It just helps when you're drafting a ton of that position. We know the certainty for wide receiver is stronger over the course of the season. When we're drafting in these middle rounds, we kind of know which wide receivers are going to have a role, whereas at running back, it's a lot more difficult to know that. And when you look at teams historically, teams that have dead spots, so basically like they drafted busted players, players that got injured, players that just didn't produce, like the biggest indicator of did a team advance, did it do well is, well, did they kind of have the majority of their team late in the season? It's easier to do that if you go wide receiver heavy and then some running backs early on, because the early running backs obviously have a better hit rate than the late ones. So continue that take in a second. But yeah, you're going to want 2 or 3 quarterbacks. Typically 2 if one of them is relatively early. We could take a third here if we wanted to. I thought Baker just went. Yeah, we'll take Baker with this pick. Totally fine taking that third quarterback. From the research I have done, the third quarterback should come at a discount and it should come with a stack. So if you do that, don't take a naked third quarterback. Don't take it ahead of ADP. If you do both those things, you're good, right? You can take that third quarterback. We're talking about Ray Davis. Maybe we can go with Ray Davis to the spot. I don't really want a wide receiver. I think Ray Davis makes the most sense here. Yeah. Goes Ray Davis. Maybe you can get a few touchdowns this season. But yeah, so that's the take on quarterback is typically you're going to want 2 of them. If you go for third, make sure it's in a stack, make sure it's at a value. For running back, teams don't grade out as well, especially if you surpass 6 running backs. You're going to want most of the time, 5 is a good number to be around. You can shift that down to 4 if you happen to, you happen to draft too early, especially. But if you happen to draft McCaffrey, like I took in this one, you happen to draft Henry, you go with 2 in the first 5 or 6 rounds. You might only need 4 if you attack it earlier on. You feel good about those positions. Teams that take a ton of them just don't grade out well over time. You're going to want at least 7 wide receivers. I typically draft teams that have 8 or 9 wide receivers. And then tight end, 2 or 3 is fine. If you don't take early, like I took Kittle and Andrews, I'm not taking a third tight end. If you didn't take one in the first 10 tight ends, you probably want to draft 3 of them. That's like a general optimal build. You're going to want to stack, okay? Whatever quarterback you have is going to have a pass catcher on the team. Many times, if they're a non-mobile quarterback, you're going to want 2. For this team, I'm going to try and get McMillan late because Baker is mostly a non-mobile quarterback. So I have Evans, and that is fine because Evans can have 200 yards in a game. But you're likely going to want, Baker to have 300 and 3 or 4 touchdowns, which means he's going to probably need more than Evans to go off in a week. So I'm going to try and get McMillan later on. Tight end stacks with quarterback correlate really well. Tight ends get their value from touchdowns. Where touchdowns come from the quarterback. So if you are looking for a late stack, tight end to quarterback makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that's just general takes. And just in the early rounds to kind of get to those positions, try not to panic if you're used to a redraft league where running back value goes away quickly. Running back value doesn't go away as fast. So you can afford to take a little bit more risk, be a little bit more patient at the running back position. In a redraft league, I am hammering the person who got Derrick Henry in 35, that's a great value, right? I'm hammering that obviously at 23 in a redraft league. I would love that. In this format, it's a little bit more beneficial to wait on running back. So a little bit of a take there. As a Bears fan, is Caleb over Burrow crazy? I mean, if you're in a redraft league and you want to do it because it's your hometown league and maybe you're not from Chicago and hopefully you're not taking them 4 rounds ahead of ADP because you have to, sure. I would say it's a little crazy. I don't think I could bring myself, unless you are just in love and you're cool losing value, I couldn't bring myself to do that. You have to take Burrow, in my opinion, ahead of Caleb Williams. Great long-term value, but Burrow's Burrow. We know what Burrow is. He's a great quarterback in fantasy. Okay, we got McCaffrey, Connor, Singletary, and Ray Davis. I will want another running back. I'm not going to want those 4. Don't feel confident enough with those 4. I would say handcuffing with Mitchell isn't the worst pick here because handcuffing can have some value in this format. McMillan already went. That's kind of crazy. I feel like wide receiver value has really, really dried up in these drafts. All right. They will take Tolbert. I probably should have paid attention a little bit earlier. All right, we'll take Tolbert. I thought so. Again, I was on the honeymoon. We were stranded for nearly 2 weeks in Barbados because of the hurricane. I have not done an actual underdog draft before the one I just did and completing a slow draft the other day in a while. I was taking McMillan in the last round in like every draft. I was just in 17 and he wasn't there. So where did he go? How early is he going? He went at 184. What's his ADP? It always goes back to your team when this happens. His ADP is now 188. Okay, so his ADP I feel like has gone up at least like 10 spots. That's unfortunate that people have kind of caught on to that value. I guess I probably won't end up with as much as him, but need to probably be more cognizant of the fact that that's going to happen a little bit more often. But yeah, I thought he was a great pick, in like 17, 18. I guess he's going to be going earlier now. All right. What are we going to do in the last round? I don't think I need to go quarterback. Again, like I said, if you did, it would be part of a stack, but I don't have anyone that's part of a stack, so we're not going to do that. We're not going to take tight end. I think 5 running backs is fine because we have McCaffrey. I'm just assuming it's a great season. If McCaffrey has a bad season, I'm probably not advancing anyways, so I shouldn't worry too much about that. Plus, I have the handcuff with Elijah Mitchell. We're getting good production from San Fran all season long. I'm just locking up every running back point on San Fran, basically, unless Urendo has a little bit more of a role this season. Yeah, I don't think I need another running back. I think we just take our highest upside wide receiver. Can we get a stack? I don't think so. I don't think there's any stacks that I'd be wanting right now. If you wanted Juwan Johnson, go for it. I'm not about to do that because I drafted Pearsall, so I want Pearsall to beat out Johnson. Who do I think has the best value here? You guys know I like Gibson as a final pick. I think there is a world where he is the second most valuable wide receiver on the team. If you want to talk about players, allude to the top one. You want to talk about players that have potential to increase in value because of the kick return rules? Gibson's an electric kick returner. If they want to have him out there for all those plays and he can add a touchdown or two in the season, maybe he can, in the playoff week, have a kick return touchdown, plus he can be involved in the receiving game because they view Malachi Corley right now as still like a gadget player, someone that like hopefully can produce early on. They view Gibson ahead of him, for sure. We also don't know how Mike Williams is recovering. I don't know. I think Gibson's a good pick. If you want to go Dortch here, fine. I don't know if there's enough value for Dortch to like truly break out this season. I think Gibson has value. I think he's a great pick this season. All right, so that's the team. How many wide receivers did we end up drafting? 9. So a 2-5-9-2 build, a very common build, a very safe build. Why don't we go to Sleeper? I will post a link in the chat. Let's do a quick Sleeper 10-team draft. You guys see I have my rookie draft coming up soon. All right, new mock draft. Let's do draft settings. Let's do PPR because the other one we just did was half PPR. 10 teams. Let's do this fast. 10 seconds. 10 seconds on the clock. I kind of wish it was 15 seconds, but let's try and rip through this one. We don't want to be here too long. Snake. All right, we'll update that. Roster settings. Let's do a 2 flex. 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, 6 bench spots. No kicker. All right. Lovely. We'll copy that. We'll paste it into the chat. And then I will get one for, I'll claim 7. I don't know. Seems to be a decent one. So if you want to join into that. See how quickly we can do this one. Again, 10 seconds on the clock. So it's going to be a very, very quick draft. But we don't want to sit here too long, making everyone wait for your picks here. Who do you keep? McBride in the 10th round. Oh, we're almost filled. McBride in the 10th round or Tank Dell in the 9th round? Tank. 9th and 10th isn't too much of a difference, and I do value Dell over McBride, so I'd rather do that. All right, Team 4. Oh, Team 10. Who wants the last pick? We'll start the draft once Team 10 gets claimed. All right. Oh, it stops clicking. Thank you. All right. We're starting it. You guys are locked in. 10 seconds on the clock for each one. It's going to be fast. This is going to be quick. There's always a 10-team draft here. Even at the 2-3 turn, you sometimes get exposure to Josh Allen and Kelsey Laporta. Wonder if waiting so long on wide receiver will eventually hurt my chances, ending up with Flowers' neighbors as 1-2. I don't know if you're talking about, I don't know which format you're talking about, so I'll answer that in a second. I would take Jefferson if he's available in the next spot. If not, how is Jefferson still available? I would like a quick take on Justin Jefferson right now. Justin Jefferson dropped nukes with like Nick Mullins and just trash quarterback play. This offense is good enough, and this coaching staff and this team, this coordinators are good enough to where they can elevate Nick Mullins to like a 400-yard passing player. They view Sam Darnold as pretty good, but let's be honest, J.J. McCarthy is going to like take over at some point. I don't know. Like, there's a world where Justin Jefferson is like by far the wide receiver 1 this season. I think he's a great value in drafts right now. I probably don't get enough of him because I've been kind of even on those early picks. Jefferson's a sick value in drafts. All right. Who are we going with at this spot? I'd want JT. He's still there? Lovely. Love the start. JT and Jefferson. I don't know if I could have asked for much better than that. We could easily have the number 1 at both positions. I feel very confident in both of them. Love it. Love this start. Oh, I'll pull this up so you guys can see it. Oh, you guys can't see the last 2 teams. Sadness. Okay. When we do something like this, does that not? All right. Can you see? Here, we will make me tiny so you can see that. And then we would just need a little bit more. What can we do? 67? You can kind of see the last team. I don't want to make it too small because then you guys can't see anything. All right. Back to the questions. I don't love... if it's on Underdog, I would prefer that Josh Allen being paired with Kincaid, and you're probably not doing Kincaid if you're taking Kelsey Laporta. If you take Kelsey, I probably would want to be drafting Mahomes, in which case you're probably not doing that. I'm going to make my pick. No. Why don't we do Etienne? Let's start off with a little bit of a running back build here. I was considering Josh Allen as well, but I'll try the running back start. Like I was saying, if you draft Kelsey, I would really want to be targeting Mahomes because Kelsey this season hits his value through touchdowns. Well, that's going to correlate really well with Mahomes. They just correlate really well together. I don't know. I don't love it at the 3-4 turn doing one of those 2 in Josh Allen. I would prefer only doing one of the 2. All right, we're almost up again, and then on to the next question. I don't think I'd go tight end here. I wouldn't hate going wide receiver. I'm not going to do running back. What about... Oh, I tried to do it. All right, I messed up. Oh, it did work. Okay, I'm on auto now, though. Let's take myself off auto. I needed to bring up the Q. He wasn't coming up on the Q. The star doesn't do Q. Is that what happens? Where's the Q button in... Ah, okay. I thought that was a note button. That's the Q. Well, I ended up getting the player I was gonna do. DJ Moore there. Anyways. PPR versus half PPR. It's always confused me. Why are players' value weighted differently? Aren't their points scored relative? You don't know if that makes sense if the players are ranked differently. Well, rankings change because some players are better. Like take Pittman versus Deebo Samuel. Well, yeah, that's a decent one. Deebo Samuel doesn't get that many receptions. So in a format that favors receptions, you get more points for the receptions, his projection changes. So you might have players who get projected for more points in full PPR and fewer points in half PPR. If you think about positions, well, you have a flex spot. Your flex spot is more likely to be a wide receiver in full PPR, so wide receivers are going to gain a little bit more value. And I'll answer more of that in a second. No quarterback. I don't know. I wouldn't hate Kincaid here. Yeah, let's go Kincaid. I feel like that's decent value for Kincaid. What? Oh, because I queue it up and then it goes on auto. Okay. Let's not miss our next pick. Let's get this one in here. I would take Neighbors and Tank Dell. And I think there's a drop-off wide receiver. At running back, wouldn't hate Mixon, but I would prefer Tank Dell. Quarterback, I'm not in love. I'd be fine waiting on quarterback. So Mixon will go, so we have to figure out an option if he's not there. I wouldn't hate Ken Walker. We would lock in 3 running backs we feel really good about. If you want to go T here, that would be fine. Keenan Allen would be fine. Let's go Ken Walker. And we're good at running back. So we're going to wait probably a while after this unless there's like a really, really strong value. But JT, ETN, Ken Walker, Jefferson, DJ Moore, Kincaid. All right. I like it. But at this next one, we're going to want to be looking at quarterback probably, and we're going to want another wide receiver. To finish off that, in PPR, wide receivers obviously get a better increase in their projection because they have more receptions than running backs, so they gain value. Having the best wide receivers is most valuable in full PPR, less valuable in half PPR, and not super valuable in standard because the gap in points isn't as high between the best and the worst. But if you're giving an extra point for projections for every reception, the players who are having all of these receptions gain a ton of value, whereas it's less so with running backs because the gap between the best running backs and the worst running backs in receptions isn't as wide, if that makes sense. So there is definitely a value difference within and across positions. Okay. No quarterbacks really went. I feel like Burrow makes a ton of sense here. Will we? I don't think we'll miss out on any quarterbacks. Yeah. Okay. Let's grab Burrow because I think he's a great value at 7. I don't think people are going to draft a ton of like backup quarterbacks, but we want to make sure we get in before the drop off. There's a drop off kind of after Love. There was a drop off after Burrow into kind of Kyler as well, but into like Kyler, Dak, and Love, and a drop off after that. I don't want to, in like 100% of my matchups in this league, go against someone who's a better quarterback than me. Like I don't want to be the only person streaming quarterback, right? So quarterback gains a teensy bit of value in this format. But yeah, I think locking up Burrow there makes sense. So we're good at tight end. We're good at quarterback. I saw a ton of wide receivers I really like. I think in full PPR, Godwin would probably be my favorite here, and he's not going to be there at our next pick. I wouldn't hate a Dunze. I would like Addison, but not having Jefferson, so I'm not going to do that. Oh, and a Dunze I have more, so I don't want a Dunze. Oh, a Dunze gets taken. Good. Godwin. Took Evans in the first draft, Godwin in the second one. Tampa Bay, I don't know. I think they're going to be solid this season, but I also think Godwin is best used in the slot, and that's where he's going back into at least a lot more of the season. He's not going to play 100% in the slot. He'll play, when the 2 wide receivers set, he'll still be out wide. But he's going to be in the slot more, which I think gives him a lot more value in full PPR because maybe his overall value doesn't change a ton, but he's going to have more like receptions, right? He's going to, he's going to have, higher catch rate, lower yards per reception, but that just boosts you up in full PPR. Are you targeting teams facing bad defenses during those weeks? Do we even know what defenses have a ton of points yet based off last year? Defense is not sticky year over year. If you try and project out what the best and worst defenses are, especially across positions, people have tried, people have failed. There truly is no great metric. What I would look at more strength of schedule. It matters more for running back, but just in terms of does this team have a difficult or an easy schedule? Just trying to predict game script. If a team is not that good, but they have a great wide receiver and a very difficult schedule, you can assume they're going to be trailing in a lot of games and they're going to need to throw it. If a team is good, has an easy schedule, and you like their running back, well, that's good. They're going to be ahead in a lot of games. Just the benefit for them. You want teams that you want players that are, hold on, Ridley. You want to be targeting running backs on teams that are winning. And so that's what a way I'd look at it more. I wouldn't look at people who are posting strength of schedule for like which teams face the best defenses. I don't even really post that for like, because we look at that for playoff matchups. I don't even post that on the site until like halfway through the season, because it's just not worth looking at until you get like halfway through the year. Even then, sometimes we've seen years where the worst teams, like teams you're attacking heavily for running backs, let's say, turn out to be good at the end of the season because they kind of switch things up. So wouldn't look at that too much. I feel like I want more upside. I think Ladd in full PPR makes sense. Risky pick because I don't know how much he's going to play, especially early on, but I don't need him early on. But yeah, he's going to be their starting slot receiver. He has Keenan Allen-like upside. It's just, does he hit that in year one? But I guess this late, that's not too bad of a bet to make. Kind of want to attack running back at the next pick. Half PPR, 3 wide receiver. Who should your keeper be? Gibbs in round 2. Not a great value. Kamara in round 5, for sure not that one. Addison round 6, not bad. Love in round 15 is not bad. Flowers in 9. JSN in 8. Flowers in 9. Flowers in round 9 is your best value there. Superflex league. Do you take a quarterback early or CMC or Lamb? I would take CMC or Lamb over. Oh, wait. We got to get off auto. Oh, no. I hate when it does that. So because I put him into there, we auto-drafted Caleb Williams. It is what it is. We didn't want to take a backup quarterback there. We would have taken Brian. Probably Brian Robinson. But it's full PPR, so I don't even know if we would have taken him. But it would be like Brian, Corum, Chase. Honestly, I might take Chase first. Chase Brown is probably what I would have taken. So if we get him at the next pick, it is what it is. For the person who said they want to take Burrow or Caleb Williams, though, I got both in this one. All right, let's take Chase Brown. Hey, we still got the player we would have taken. And to be honest, there's only 3 more rounds. It's not the end of the world. You know, if Caleb Williams ends up being like really good, and we stick with him, we trade Burrow, it could work out, but I wouldn't have done that. Anyways. Yeah, I would take McCaffrey or Lamb over a quarterback in Superflex. What are your thoughts on the Chargers backfield? Feel like Gus is a strong pick, but the general public seems to think he's not. Thank you in advance. Honestly, I'd go with your gut on that one. They all go late enough where it's not throwaway picks, but the success rate when you exit like the 8th or 9th round is like 25%. So go with your gut. I do think Gus is going to be the starting lead back. I don't think he has any sort of reception upside, but I think there's a world for sure where Gus just kind of has 8 to 10 touchdowns with like 800 rushing yards, which would be really strong for where you're getting him. In full PPR, I genuinely think there's a chance that he has like 7 receptions. I just don't have a strong enough take to take him typically. I haven't ended up with a lot of him. I don't like the value on Vidal, so I probably wouldn't take him. I just took Jalen Wright, by the way. I think people are just taking Vidal a little bit too early. I don't love Dobbins because it's like, he's had so many major injuries. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. So probably would just pass on Dobbins. So I guess you kind of default to saying, well, Gus is maybe the only one there that we feel like super strongly about. But I don't know. I don't feel strong enough to take him in a lot of leagues. I'll sprinkle it in here and there. If I'm in my like major, the league I care the most about in redraft, I don't think I would take him. All right, so Curtis Samuel, I think, to pick here. Best wide receiver by an okay chunk. There's still some really, really strong wide receivers, which is something I think you got to keep in the back of your mind when you flip on over to redraft. Remember, we just drafted a best ball team where wide receivers were gross later on, right? In redraft, look at this. Like, Cooks is a great pick. Pearsall's a good pick. Polk, Wicks, Demarico Douglas isn't that bad. Judy's not that bad. Downs has some upside. There's some strong picks here, and we're in round 15. So you got to make sure you kind of lock up your running backs early on, like we did. Taylor, ETN, Ken Walker, wait a while, Chase Brown, Jalen Wright. Because you can't be taking all these wide receivers, get to the end and be like, oh, I love all these wide receivers. Look at the running backs. It's gross. I mean, I think Ty Chandler is a good value. Algier, if you want handcuffs, there's some handcuffs here, but there's not like great picks at this spot. I probably would go, I don't know. I would go Ty Chandler or Cooks. I feel like it probably makes more sense. That's the full team here. It probably makes more sense to go with the running back at that spot because it's only a 2. Oh, it's a 2 flex league. I did forget about that. But still, I already had 5 wide receivers, one of which was Jefferson, who's not leaving that spot. Or I already had 6 wide receivers. It would have been my 7th wide receiver, only having 5 running backs. Yeah, I think it makes a little bit more sense there. But if you wanted to go with Brandon Cooks in that spot, that'd be fine. So there's the team. I honestly, the biggest mistake was the auto draft of Caleb Williams. You throw in Chase Brown at that spot and then instead going Lockett maybe. If we had Chase Brown here, Lockett as the extra wide receiver, our team would be way, way, way better. So personally, wouldn't take that back up. Of course, it happens, right? So is what it is. All right, I'll answer a few more questions and then we will get on out of here. You could draft Trey Palmer. I could have. I just think he's clear their 4 and he's not going to help me at all. I'd rather someone that I think is going to help me. But yeah, I guess looking for like 100% tall ceiling, I could have drafted Palmer. Never done Underdog. How do you feel about... Oh. All right, I'll look at that team. We'll go back in and we will take a look at this Phoenix Rose team. Drafts. We want completed. We want Pitbull and the Purdy team. All right, let's view this team. Phoenix Rose drafted at 6. St. Brown, Waddle, Neighbors. Okay. So 2 quarterbacks. You got the 2 on the Waddle stack. Awesome. You went with Anthony Richardson, who doesn't technically need to be stacked, but to be very good. Okay, you got Downs. Good. And I wouldn't hate if you had drafted... Okay, one problem here. Do you only have one tight end? You need another tight end. So this pick should have been... Oh, Jelani Woods got taken here. Maybe this pick should have been Jelani Woods. You need 2 tight ends. You don't... So when I did the simulations, there were some builds that worked out where you can have one tight end. And if you can advance with one tight end, actually your weekly projection is positive. It goes up because, like, if we're looking at a 1 week here, Laporta's going to have a strong projection. You're probably going to want to use that spot. But to help you advance, you're going to want another one, and you'd want to stack a little bit more maybe with Anthony Richardson. So I would have taken Jelani Woods. Oh, wow. He went at 193, though. That's earlier than normally, so you actually would have missed out on him. But get Tucker Kraft, get Jawan, or I probably wouldn't do Jawan. There's probably a different tight end I would have drafted, but you need that. So stacks are fine. Running backs, you went with Rashad White, Aaron Jones, Swift, Javonte, Algier, and Pierce. I think that's totally fine, but again, the Pierce pick should have been a tight end. Again, St. Brown, Waddle, Neighbors, Dobbs, Downs, Douglas, Mims, Boyd. I think literally the only picks that I think you went away from are Odell and Pierce. One of them needs to be a tight end, and I don't love Odell. I think Pierce is fine because I think he get traded and then his value can go way up. So genuinely, the only pick is make Odell a tight end, and then I think that's a good draft. You got the stacks. You got players. You got players I like. I'll say I like the running backs less personally. I'm not huge on Rashad White or Javonte Williams, but I know some people I really respect that love Javonte Williams, love this Denver running back core, because Denver running backs just like have a lot of value with Sean Payton as their head coach. If Javonte Williams is their clear running back 1, that'll end up being a great pick. So that's the general thought there. So on Underdog, you got Jefferson and JT in the first 2 picks. Kyron fell to you in the 3rd. Yeah, that's a really, really strong start. Very high ceiling with that one. Okay. Which team do you like in the mock? All right, that's how we'll end it. We'll see which team I like the most in the mock draft. First team, strong. I like the 2 running backs start, but I don't like the 2 tight ends, so that's a no. This one has a nice little stack here. Really strong wide receiver start. Not in love with some of the running backs, but it's the best team so far. Not a bad build here. I'll say for PPR, having Henry Montgomery, they're not really PPR players, so I think team 1's still better. 4 wide receivers start here. I like Pitts. I like Richardson. Those are strong 4 wide receivers. Stevenson, Mostert. Okay. Might like that team a hair more because I also really like Stevenson. I like Stevenson, I think, more than Kamara. I like this team a little bit more. Team 5. I think strong, but okay. Strong. I don't really have any problems with this team. Maybe a little bit early on Stroud. That's probably my biggest thing. Team 4 and 5 would be tied for first, I think. Another strong team. Team 6. I like this one. I like Team 6. I think 4 and 5 are good, but Team 6 maybe gets like a 3rd place there. Of course, our team. I don't think we can count our team because I don't like the Caleb Williams one. I think our team is very strong. I like this team a lot, but we'll say 4 and 5 are still in the lead. Don't hate the double stack here with Hawkinson and Bowers. Josh Allen's a fine value there. Like the running back core. Maybe a little bit more thin at wide receiver. Because I feel like that's maybe my issue on my team is I'm a little bit more thin than I'd like to be in, full PPR, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex. So I feel like that's why I like these teams a little bit better. This team went heavy at wide receiver. Purdy, Daniels, strong wide receivers, Gibbs, Pacheco. Okay. I think 4 and 5 had the best team, personally. That's my take. Okay. That'll do it for this one. Must draft running backs tomorrow. Going to be one you guys are going to want to watch. We broke down late 2nd round wide receivers for the Thursday video. Haven't done the Friday video just yet. So if you guys are one of the 34 people that are still here, hit the like button. We're only at 27 because I didn't shout it out at any point. Hit the like button. Subscribe for some reason if any of you are new here. But thank you all for watching the stream.